before we get to the entertainment, keep talking about Palestine. It is 262 days into the Israeli army committing genocide. Keep your eyes on Sudan and Congo as well. Please, please, please donate to any of these links. Literally $5 helps so much. There's tons and tons of organizations that are helping with aid in Palestine, in Sudan, in Congo, in many other places. As I spotlighted last week, GazaFunds.com is still one of the best places if you want to directly give money to families trying to get out of Gaza. Any of these links are great places to send your money. I would greatly, greatly appreciate you donating to any of the links that I have in my bio. Thank you. Hello, it's Rachel. I don't see a point in rambling before we start because I gave my expectations for this episode last week. So let's just go ahead and start with episode 7 of Interview with the Vampire.
Sacks come off, your character's in a play.
Props. Props in a play. A play that's been fully designed and rehearsed. And every actor on stage has scripted lines, except for us.
This is just so deranged. A scripted play. So that's the thing. Lestat had to follow the script. Like, I was saying this last week in my... I'm pretty sure I was saying it last week in my expectations for this episode, and it's that, like, whatever Lestat says, regardless of if it's in favor of Louis and Claudia or not, the Coven has made up their mind. And, like, if the script is already fucking... If there's a literal script... The question is, what was the reason Lestat went along with the script? I'm scared to know the answer. I'm so scared to know the answer.
Let me guess. The star witness's testimony was scrupulously impartial.
Take us back to the beginning, if you will, of this story of butchery.
It's a story of...
Body language. It is so clear that Lestat is, like, deeply, deeply uncomfortable with being here. God, I'm scared to hear his version of events of why he left the Coven. 'Cause, like, it's clear something very, very, very bad happened, and that's why he left.
I followed Lestat's gaze and saw Armand in one of the boxes. It stopped my heart until I saw the vampire Sam standing next to him, blocking his exit. He was as much of a captive as we were.
Are you sure about that, Louis? Are you sure? I don't think that's true.
I buried myself in the dirt, Porte Neuilly, in the outskirts of Paris, and I lay there for 100 years. Napoleon marched his drinks cabinet across Europe while I mourned. The only sounds I heard were the...
Also, okay, just like thinking back to 203, when we saw Lestat performing, like, just... It's striking how different it is. Because, like, he was very passionate about performing. And he just... It's so clear he doesn't want to do this. It's so obvious. This is... Sam Reed, you're so good.
I first saw Louis in a street brawl.
The accused was a troubled man. A failed sugar farmer, a brothel keeper.
Forced into corners by his race, alienated from his own desires, American Puritanism mangling his very soul.
Disreputable, cold, violent.
Louis first accosted me in a pleasure house, and then everywhere I went, as if by happy accident, there was Louis, offering to be my
Oh my god, no. No! Whoever wrote this play, I'm gonna kill you. They're really trying to say it's the exact opposite of what it was. Santiago. I'm presuming you're the one who wrote the script. Santiago, when I get my hands on you.
chaperone, his eyes sliding down me. I, a vampire.
God. He looks like he's about to throw up, which I agree, Lestat. I feel that way too.
I offered Louis myself instead. What I am. My companionship. An immortal life. And I offered it.
Also, God, I know I keep pausing this, like, but the way that Lestat is, like, unable to look at Louis, like, this is killing me.
To him. In the church. On the altar.
And with the two
The way Lestat said that in the church on the altar, it's like... Are they trying to, like, make some kind of, allegory for vows?
Louis didn't take to vampirism.
It's Louis did. The accused.
Lestat doesn't like that he's here, but he said, I will be the star of this. Stealing Santiago's lines, going off script to chastise the audience.
They lit her building on fire because of me.
They lit whatever fire you're talking about with their own free will. You do not know this girl.
Make her like us.
C'est impossible. Elle est trop jeune.
Please, I can't have her die.
The gift cannot be given to children.
What do you mean? Yes, it can.
The great laws forbid it.
Great law, she's gonna die in front of us.
But he...
So, there's the script. So, of course, the script is going to make Lestat look... The script is going to be in Lestat's favor. I do think Lestat probably protested, but I don't think he mentioned the vampire laws, because I feel like Louis is not aware of them at all before he meets the Coven. So yeah, interesting that this script has Lestat saying that he warned Louis about the laws, because I don't think that happened. I don't think that's true.
I was in a terrible panic. Guilt had seized reason. Claudio on the ledge of death.
You know you can do this.
And so be what? A lapdog.
No, not a dog.
A daughter.
Yeah. I'll stay. I'll never leave you. Ever again. I promise.
I don't know. I feel like some of this is real. I feel like I do think his resistance is accurate.
Drink up.
You have to drain her first, Louis.
She asked if I was an angel. Me. It's not how it happened. It is how it happened.
Whoa. Okay. That's... Oh. So that is all true. Yeah, no wonder Lestat did it. Louis distraught and, like, on the verge of a breakdown. What else are you gonna do in that moment? Oh. rough. Very rough.
I made her for Louis. She is my blood. I broke the second law. When you sentence them for their crimes, you sentence me too.
Ah! Lestat is like, no, I'm not going to let them die. This is the best and most painful thing the writers could have done. He's ready to sacrifice himself.
How Claudia was made? He didn't tell me what you would be.
No! He's back to hallucinating Lestat. Oh my god. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Ah!
You started, you finish it. It will end in your death. My death?
Look at your fucking face.
Knowing that we were gonna see this again, I've just been questioning, like, how much was true. But I don't think this is true at all. I don't think Louis would say that. I don't think Louis would say that. I don't think he would be able to overpower Lestat to this point.
You gonna leave me?
I'm gonna take this hand here
And wrap it around that scrawny neck of yours.
Okay, this is 100% fabricated for the play. Louis did not say these things.
Just like you did our daughter. I ain't gonna stop until your eyes pop. And now I'm gonna find a big old butcher knife and chop your head off. And then I'm gonna walk that head all.
God, this is gnarly. Santiago, was this you? I will find you. This is evil. This is evil and slander. Louis did not say this.
It wasn't a misunderstanding. It wasn't an accident. I let go of him. I watched him clutch the air. I saw him swinging wild as he fell through the clouds.
The projections went off sync. The start went off script again.
How do you know it wasn't part of the show?
Sam was cursing to himself.
The attempted murder did a good job at making him take accountability for his fuck-ups, I will say.
I hurt the one. I hurt the only one.
Doing it again. Hurting you again.
I thought of this often in the coffin that you left me in. And I've thought of this in the years since.
And now I'm thinking about Louis' hallucination in the premiere when he thought Lestat was like, I'm gonna kill you once you're finally happy. Oh, it could not be more inaccurate. Pain. Everything is pain.
Nice apology. From the heart and not the page. Did it move you?
Crossed an ocean because he wanted us dead.
Crossed an ocean because he wanted us dead. Who told you that, Louis? Because that is not true in any way.
He saved you.
It took all my strength.
You saved Louis.
Yes.
But not her.
I could not prevent it.
You say I could not prevent it, but you also did absolutely nothing to try to stop the coven from pushing you out. You did. I'm not going to get back into the rant that I had last week. Yes, now that we're at the trial, there was nothing you could do. But there were things you could have done before we got to the trial, and you didn't. Whether that was laziness, whether that was disinterest, whatever reason, you could have done things before we reached the trial, and you didn't care to try.
And you could tell from the look on Lestat's face, the last thing she saw on Earth was him.
Things that make you want to throw up. Trauma. Everyone just got trauma from this. God. That was brutal. That was so brutal. I was too busy reeling from the episode, and I forgot to do like a final thought segment and summarize how I was feeling, I guess. So here I am, like 36-ish hours after giving my reaction. So, firstly, I want to talk about the flashbacks we saw. So we see Lestat's perspective / the trial version, because we don't know if this is... Well, one, even if this is genuinely how Lestat remembers it, that doesn't mean it is the capital O objective reality. That just means it's his perspective. Two, we don't know how much the Coven has altered things because there's the script, so we don't know how much is them playing up certain aspects. So yeah, we don't know that this is like... We don't know how true this is, basically. But I do think Lestat gave in way too easily in Louis' recounting of Claudia being turned. So I do think this version is probably more accurate, even if I don't 100% buy the entire thing. And it was just so much, because, like, we have Lestat trying to prioritize Claudia and being like, I know how this ends, it's not going to end well for her, I don't want this for this random girl we don't know. And he's practically begging Louis not to make him do this. And then we have Louis pleading, desperate, borderline having a breakdown. And it's like, how could Lestat say no when Louis is in this state? Like, even if I don't think that this trial version is 100% accurate, I think it's closer to the truth than Louis' recounting was. As I was saying with my angry commentary during the fight, I don't think the trial version of the fight is real. I've been going back and forth about it, and like, I know Louis can have like a vengeful streak, I guess, because we have him killing that like businessman in season 1, which, like, that was rightful anger, but it led to a lot of unfortunate consequences that Louis didn't really account for. So, like, I mean, to some degree, I could see him lashing out, but, like, at the same time, I just... And also, like, we have the things he was saying to Armand in 73 when he was high. So, like, we know he does have a mean streak when the right buttons are pushed. But it didn't feel right. I don't think it's real. I don't think that much of it is real. I think there might be pieces of it that are real, but for the most part, I think that was the Coven just playing into anti-black stereotypes and making him seem like the violent one, and that Lestat was quote-unquote pushed into using his powers. I think the truth is closer to Louis's version for that. And then, God, okay. So another thing that, like, fucking drove me crazy is, how did Lestat fight harder to protect Louis and Claudia than Armand did? Because, like, he's stealing Santiago's lines as, like, a little fuck you because he doesn't want to fucking be there. He's saying, oh, Claudia and Louis broke the laws, but so did I by making Claudia, so if they're on trial, I'm on trial too. He's saying that he was in the wrong during the fight and that he was vindictive by dropping Louis, essentially trying to say that Louis wasn't to blame for that. Like, Lestat doesn't even have power here, and he still took these moments to, like, try to go against what the Coven wants. And then what does Armand do in the whole play? At the very last minute, he gets into the minds of the crowd and gets them to say banishment over death for Louis. Like, Armand, the most powerful person here. And when I was watching, I was trying to give him, like, some benefit of the doubt because he was saying I could not prevent it, which, by the way, the fact that that's the episode title and Armand is the one who says it, I wanted to throttle him. Like, I was expecting that to be something Louis said, because of course Louis couldn't prevent it. He had no idea that this was a situation that could happen until he was already in it. But Armand saying it pissed me off so much. Oh my god. But it's just like, Armand knows how much Louis cares about Claudia, but he just could not care less about protecting her. And given some theorizing and meta I've seen from other people, I'm wondering if Armand had more of a role than just being a spectator, because they have, like, the episode has Claudia say it's a stoning, and then we don't see much of the trial after that because it's just like everything went according to the script after that part. So it's like, because I feel like Lestat would want to derail more. And some people have been theorizing that Lestat has been mind controlled to make sure he says what the Coven wants him to say during the trial. And it's just like, who in the Coven would be strong enough to do that, I wonder? Who would be strong enough to force Lestat to follow the script? Also, there's a really excellent Tumblr post I saw that I'm just going to insert here. And one addition I'd like to make is when Claudia explicitly points out the double standard of this trial, and she's like, Lestat admitted he hurt Louis on purpose, and he cried, and you forgive him. But I've admitted the wrong, quote unquote. that I've done to Lestat, if I cry, will I be forgiven? And the audience just boos her. Like, it's just very on the nose. Anyway, expectations for the finale. It's pretty clear to me that Louis and Armand's relationship is going to dissolve. How exactly? I'm not sure. Episode 5 got me convinced that Louis and Lestat were gonna, like, team up and, like, literally fight Armand and force him to leave. But I don't know if I think that's gonna happen now. Because I've seen the prop book, the prop Interview with the Vampire, written by Daniel Malloy book. And I remember, I think it was from Instagram, I remember seeing that there's a song on the soundtrack for season 2 that's titled I Didn't Realize It Was a Gift, or something along those lines. And between that, the prop book being like a red cover with what looks to be like a bow, and then also Armand's comment of, you wanted to do this interview to reach Lestat. I don't think Louis and Lestat are going to reunite until Armand is out of the picture. Obviously, for wrapping up the Coven story, we're gonna have Louis set the theater on fire and kill everyone in the Coven besides Armand. Daniel publishes the book, because again, I've seen the prop book. I genuinely think we're not getting Louis and Lestat in the present day until the final scene. I think the final scene is going to be them embracing and Louis saying I love you for the first time, because he hasn't said that to Lestat. And then I think it's going to be cut to black and we wait another year. So yeah, I don't have a ton to say for predictions. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully you enjoyed my rambling. Hopefully my interruptions were entertaining or insightful. COVID rates are concerning, so please continue masking or start masking if you've stopped. Bird flu is becoming a concern as well, so masking will also help with that, as well as being careful about meat and dairy that you consume. Make sure meat is well cooked. Make sure dairy is pasteurized. There's a new vaccine for COVID that came out in September, and so if you never got it in the first place, now's a good time to get it. If you originally got it before the start of 2024, now's a good time for a booster. Hopefully I'll catch you again soon. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.